It was supposed to be just another weekend getaway. A small, abandoned cabin deep in the woods, far from the chaos of the city. A chance for us to disconnect, relax, and recharge. But I didn't know that night would be the last night of our lives. The moment we arrived, the air felt different. Cold. Thick with an eerie stillness, as if the trees were watching us. The cabin was old, its wooden walls creaking as if whispering secrets we weren't meant to hear. My friends joked about it, how the place looked like the perfect set for a horror movie. If only they knew how true that was. As the night fell, we gathered around the fireplace, the crackling flames the only source of comfort in that unsettling place. But then it started. The whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind pushing through the trees, but no. This was something different. The voice was faint, barely audible, like a distant breath brushing against my ear. You shouldn't be here. It was so quiet, I wasn't sure I even heard it. My skin prickled with unease, but I shook it off. We were just letting our imaginations get the best of us, or so I thought. Suddenly, the door slammed shut on its own. The windows rattled, and a heavy, suffocating darkness settled over the room. The fireplace flickered and then died. Complete silence. My heart pounded in my chest. I could feel my pulse racing in my throat. Then, a single whisper echoed in the room, louder this time. Run. I jumped up, but my friends didn't seem to hear it. They just stared at me, confused, asking if I was okay. But I wasn't. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The voice was louder now, almost angry, as if it was inches away from my face. Run, it screamed. And then it happened. The lights flickered back on, revealing something standing in the corner. A shadow, tall and twisted, its limbs unnaturally long. It moved like it was part of the darkness itself, blending into the blackness with fluid, unnatural movements. Its eyes. I'll never forget those eyes, empty, hollow, and yet they bore into me as if they could see every dark secret, every hidden fear. In a flash, it lunged. The creature moved faster than anything I'd ever seen. The first scream came from Sarah. It grabbed her, its hands like claws, digging into her flesh. Blood splattered across the walls as it tore her apart in front of us. Her eyes were wide with terror, mouth open in a silent scream as the life drained from her body. We ran. We had no choice but to leave her behind. Her body was mutilated, unrecognizable, and her blood painted the floors in a sickening red. But it didn't stop there. As we bolted down the narrow hallway, the whispers grew louder, filling our heads with screams of agony and terror. My friend Mark tripped, falling face first onto the hard wooden floor. Before I could help him, the creature was on him. It dragged him back into the darkness by his legs, his nails scratching at the floor, leaving a trail of blood and splinters. His screams echoed in the cabin, mixed with the horrible sound of bones snapping and flesh tearing. I couldn't look back. I couldn't bear to see what was happening. All I could hear were his desperate cries until silence. Cold, dead silence. I stumbled into a room, slamming the door behind me. My chest heaved with terror, my breath ragged. The whispers surrounded me now, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. You won't survive this night. The voice was cruel, mocking, and I could feel it crawling inside my head. I looked around the room, searching for anything to protect myself. A broken mirror on the wall. I grabbed a shard of glass, my hands trembling. The only light came from the moon, casting long shadows across the floor. But then, I saw it, its reflection in the mirror. The creature was standing behind me, watching. I spun around, slashing wildly with the glass shard, but it was no use. The creature's hands wrapped around my throat, lifting me off the ground. I gasped for air, my vision blurring as its grip tightened. My body felt cold, the life draining from me. I could feel its breath against my skin, hot and rancid, whispering once again, "You should have run." With a final burst of strength, I slashed at its face, the glass cutting deep into its flesh. A high-pitched, inhuman scream filled the room, and it dropped me. I hit the ground hard, coughing and gasping for air. But I knew. I knew it wasn't over. The whispers returned, louder and angrier than before. The room began to shake, and I could hear the walls splintering, cracking under the pressure of something far more powerful than I could ever comprehend. The cabin groaned as if it were alive, as if it was part of the creature itself. I ran for the door, but it wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed shut. There was no escape. I was trapped in this nightmare. I could hear it coming for me, its heavy footsteps echoing in the hallway. I looked around, desperate for an exit. And then I saw it. A trapdoor in the floor. I yanked it open, throwing myself into the darkness below, landing hard on cold, damp earth. The stench of decay filled my nose, and I gagged as I realized where I was. It was a pit, a burial pit. Bones, rotting flesh, and blood-soaked earth surrounded me. The whispers grew deafening now, and I could hear them all around me. "Join us. Join us in the dark." I screamed, clawing at the walls, trying to escape, but the more I struggled, the more the earth swallowed me. I felt the hands, cold, dead hands, grabbing at my ankles, pulling me down. I screamed again, but no one would hear me. No one would survive this night.